All right, Shalom family. Welcome to another edition of Blog Talk Radio. Of course, this is Brother and Elder Lawya, this evening filling in for Elder Rawchaa. And tonight, for those who were able to catch the topic or were able to go beforehand and were able to catch what we were going to discuss tonight, hopefully you're ready to, delve into this conversation with me. For those who are just now calling in, who have not had the opportunity to see what the topic is, I'm going to go over it briefly. And I want to try to make this as interactive as possible as far as a broadcast. Now, I did want to also broadcast or stream through Ustream, but there's a few issues trying to link it together with Minicam. So predominantly tonight will be on Blog Talk, or tonight's discussion will be predominantly through the radio broadcast. Now, the topic of discussion for tonight, we're going to get right into it. Is there only one path to God? Again, the topic of discussion, which I believe is a very controversial topic, and I'll explain why. But the question that we're posing is there only one path to God? There are many concepts and religions, entertainment, and pop culture of who and what God is, and the path one must take to get to Him. As believers in the Most High, Christ, and the Bible, how do we use what we know about the Most High, or about God, to show those who are in darkness the one true path? Keep in mind that we were once followers of the diverse paths that exist in the world today. So this portion will hopefully be the interactive portion of the discussion, as far as asking you all, at which point in your life did you find out that the path that you were originally on, before you found this truth, before you found Christ, before you found knowledge of who you are, what path were you on that was leading you in the opposite direction of God? Please share your experience as we delve into tonight's topic. Is there only one path to God? Now, I mentioned that this is a very controversial topic. The question is why? Well, the reason why this is a controversial topic is that the world believes, and when I say the world, I mean all those who are within the world with their different religious beliefs, their different philosophical beliefs, and we're going to cover some today in tonight's broadcast. But with all the different philosophical viewpoints and religious viewpoints that exist in the earth today, every last one of them believes that they have the one true path, either to God for those who believe in God, or the one true path to reach some level of whether it be a euphoric society, a religious end, or a nirvana, as they will in the belief of Buddhism. Okay, a place of righteousness, a place of peace, so on and so forth. Every religion believes that they have a path to reach a particular goal. Now, one thing that you'll find in these different religions, or one argument that these different religious organizations or groups will make, is that we're all following the same God, or we're all following different paths to get to the one true God. You may call him this, I may call him that, you may call him Allah, you may call him Jehovah, you may call him Buddha, you may call it Christ. But at the end of this one path, we will all reach the same exact goal, which is peace, love, everlasting life, euphoria, so on and so forth. Now you're going to find out that that statement is partially true. And the question is, which part of it is true? If it's partially true, then that means that one part of it is true, another part of it is false. The question is, what part is true and which part is false? Well, the true part is that everyone in this earth, regardless of what religious or philosophical viewpoint that they're following, outside of the truth that is presented in the Bible, I want to make that clear. Everyone on the outside of that viewpoint that is presented scripturally as the one true path is following the same God. And even though they're all following different paths, those different paths will lead them to that one. We're not going to divulge that information at this point. We'll save that for later within the show. Okay? But that pretty much is the true part of the statement. They're all following different paths, calling on different names to reach one particular goal. That part is true. The false part of it is to believe that the God that the Muslims are following is the same God that the Christians are following, or the same God of the Bible, okay? Or that the God that the Buddhists are following is the same exact God as the God of the Bible. That's the false aspect of it, okay? But again, the true aspect is that they're all following one particular God through many different paths. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to discuss quite a few of those different paths. And then after we discuss those paths, I want to get some input from you all to find out what paths were you once on before you came into the knowledge of the truth. What were you following? And not only what were you following, what was the turning point in your life that led you to the right path? What we're going to do at this point, I'm going to, again, for those who are just now calling in, give you some insight as to what we're discussing. Okay? Is there only one path to God? There's many concepts in religion, entertainment, and pop culture of who and what God is. The path one must take to get to Him, and, etc. Okay? As believers in the Most High, Christ and the Bible, how do we use what we know about the Most High to show those who are in darkness the one true path? Also, we want to keep in mind that we at one point in our lives were following diverse paths that exist throughout the earth, different religions, different philosophical views. Many of us at some point may have been non-believers altogether, believing that, there is no heaven, there is no hell, more so dealing with the either scientific viewpoint of life or the atheistic point of life. Okay? So I want you all to recollect on the time in which you were following different paths, believing that all of those different paths were leading you to the same place, or leading you to the one true path, or leading you to the one true God. And I also want to know the turning point in your life. What was that point in your life that you found out that you were dealing outside of the one true path, and that you were going in an opposite direction of the one true God of the Bible? So I'm going to give you all the opportunity to share your experiences on this particular topic as we deal with the concept, is there only one path? Now again, many of you may be asking, well, why is this even a question? We who are in the truth already know that there's only one path to God. The Bible tells us in the book of St. John chapter 14 and 6 that Christ, the Messiah, He tells us that He is the way, the truth, and the life, and that no man cometh to the Father but by Him. Now that's a very bold statement when you have so many different religious viewpoints, so many different religious and philosophical paths, believing that they're all going to one particular place. And in their viewpoint, that one place is positive. Okay? Now, because the Bible makes that statement, because Christ makes those statements, because the Bible makes these absolute statements concerning those who believe in it and follow the doctrines that are contained within the Bible, and it makes bold statements as to those who do not follow the one path that is described in the Bible, as far as what their destiny will be. Because the Bible makes these bold, absolute statements, many people have an issue with the Bible. And therefore, they will either try to question or discredit the integrity of the Bible. Again, they'll try to show some type of similarities between their belief system and the biblical belief system. For example, they'll say things such as, well, the Bible teaches a Trinity, and we, in our belief system, believe in a form of Trinity. Well, for those of us who have knowledge of the truth, we know that the Bible does not teach a Trinity, and that the Trinity concept is more so taught through the new gospel. Okay, and when I say new gospel, I'm talking about the gospel, the other gospel that taught a different Christ than one that was prophesied and described in the Bible. That particular form of Christianity teaches the Trinity doctrine. But nonetheless, people will use that as an example to try to find common ground between their belief system and the biblical belief system. Okay? Others will say that, well, our God, in our belief system, we believe he's responsible for creation, or our particular viewpoint on the universe and God and our philosophy contains a creation story, just like the Bible contains a creation story. Therefore, we're on common ground. We're on equal ground because your creation story is your viewpoint and your aspect from your Bible, and mine is from my belief system, whether it be the Gilgamesh epic or any other religious viewpoint that may be out there. So we're no different, is what people will try to pose, because they don't want to deal with the absolute bold statements that are presented in the Bible, which is, number one, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. There is one God and none else beside him. Christ comes and tells us that he is the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh to the Father but by him, which means you cannot have access to the Most High God, the Supreme Being, the Creator of the universe. You cannot have access to him without going through Christ. Okay? So the Bible makes it clear. But again, tonight we're going to go through some of the other belief systems, many of which I'm going to delve into today. Some of you were once followers of these belief systems. Okay? So if you were, I want you to give feedback. I want you to give your experience in that particular view system, as well as what eventually led you out of it onto the one true path. Okay? Also, if you would like, you can deal with, what are some ways that we who are in the one true path, how can we shine light on those who are still in these different religious viewpoints, dealing on these different paths? Okay? So what we're going to do at this time is we're going to play a few advertisements, and on the other side of the advertisements, we're going to delve into the different belief systems that exist throughout the world. Hold tight. We'll be back on the other side. Is there only one path to God?
Shalom. Not techy enough? Call us at 678-879-5774. Here at InfoTechie, we offer web design, networking, custom logos and banners, SEO, PC and laptop repair, and security integrity analyzing. Portable service, 15 years experience, residential and small businesses welcome, locally based in New Orleans region. Please call us at 678-879-5774, or you may email us at infotechie.it@gmail.com. That's infoteke.it@gmail.com to schedule your appointment today. Kwam Yasharella.
Are you tired of harmful chemicals in your toothpaste, such as sodium lauryl sulfate, tricolsan, fluoride, hydrated silica, sugar, preservatives, and more? Well, Exodus is the #1 company in making herbal tooth powder. This revolutionary herbal gum and tooth powder is the only herbal tooth powder with immediate effect within 3 days. It tightens the gum, whitens the teeth, counteracts the side effects of chemotherapy burning in the gum tissue, rid the mouth of canker sores, reduces bleeding in the gum, freshens the breath, and restore the gum tissue to health. Exodus, the #1 company in making herbal tooth powder. ExodusGumPowder.com. For more herbal products, visit us at ExodusGumPowder.com.
All right, brothers and sisters, those particular advertisements that you just heard were from the GOCC network, which we will be making a few announcements later concerning the network and some of the businesses that you can find on the network. Now, getting into this topic, okay, is there only one path to God? All right. Before me, I have a book, and the name of that book is called The Rose, R-O-S-E, Book of Bible Charts, Maps, and Timelines. Again, The Rose, R-O-S-E, Book of Bible Charts, Maps, and Timelines. And in this book, towards the back, they have a section called Christianity, Cults, and Religions. Again, the title of this section is called Christianity, Cults, and Religions. And again, I actually wanted to show some of this information on Ustream through Minicam. But again, Ustream is not allowing me to connect through that particular medium. So I'm just going to read off some of the information they have here. Now, even though, again, the title of this section is called Christianity, Cults, and Religions, even though they have Christianity as presented as the one true belief system, which we know the biblical doctrine that came from Christ and his apostles, who were called Christians first in Antioch, is the one true doctrine, which puts us on the one true path. Now, the Christianity, of course, that they're presenting in this particular book is the modern Christianity. Okay, so I want to make that clear. But nonetheless, they do have a very good section which introduces us to many different belief systems that exist in the world. Now I'm going to go through the list of these different religious sects, these different religious viewpoints. And I'm just going to give a few, a few tidbits as far as what they believe in all of these different religions. Of course, there's many, so I may have to just name a few and go into the founder of the religion, name the founder, and just keep it moving because it's a plethora of information. But nonetheless, starting here on page number 193 of the Rose Book of Bible Charts, Maps, and Timelines. The first religion that they have presented here is the Jehovah's Witnesses, also known as the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. Now, the founder of the Jehovah's Witnesses is Charles Taze Russell from 1852 to 1916. Later, Joseph F. Rutherford from 1896 to 1942, which I believe is their birth dates, their birth and death dates. Okay. This particular religion began in 1879 in Pennsylvania. The headquarters is in Brooklyn, New York. Okay. Now, some of the publications and some of the literature that you'll find from this organization is predominantly publications from the Watchtower Society, including the New World Translation of the Bible. They have a publication called Reasoning from the Scriptures, as well as What Does the Bible Teach? And they also have what I believe, I think it's a monthly magazine called Watchtower and Awake. Okay, so these are some of the forms of literature you'll find in this organization. Okay. Moving on to the next religion they have here, they have Mormonism, which is the Church of Latter-day Saints, founded by Joseph Smith Jr., 1805 to 1844, organized what is now the Church of Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints, or the LDS, in 1830 near Rochester, New York. Headquarters in Salt Lake City, Utah. Okay. Now, one interesting fact about the Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormonism, Seventh-day Adventists, as well as some of the other religions or Christian sects sprung up during the 17th, maybe the 18th, 19th century, mainly the 19th century. Okay. A majority of these beliefs started in an area, even though their headquarters or their founders may have come from another place. A lot of these particular religions began in a place in New York known as the Burnt Over District. Okay, again, the Burnt Over District in New York. And this area, when you do the research, was known for a high level of I guess you would say, New Age philosophy, mysticism, so on and so forth. So a lot of these religions, like the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Mormons, Seventh-day Adventists, most of them from that particular area come from that particular district, again known as the Burnt Over District. When you get the opportunity, please look that up and do a little bit of research so that when we are speaking with our fellow Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, and Seventh-day Adventists, we'll be able to explain to them some of the origins of their belief system, even beyond maybe what they have had the opportunity to research. Okay? And of course, the Bible tells us to speak the truth in love. This information is not to go to a Mormon or a Jehovah's Witness and say, you know, you're of the devil, you're not following the one true path, you know, you're following Satan, so on and so forth, and make those particular accusations against them, even though, for the most part, it is true. Okay? When we go to our brothers and sisters with information, we go to them in love, and we give them the opportunity to make a decision going forward based on the information. Okay? But nonetheless, I'm going to keep it moving. Again, we have quite a few things here to cover. Next, we have the Seventh-day Adventists. Primary organizers are James and Ellen White. Joseph Bates, and it says it was incorporated in 1863 in Michigan, headquarters in Silver Springs, Maryland. That's the Seventh-day Adventists. Next, we have the Unification Church, founded by Sun Myung Moon, started the Holy Spirit Association for the Unification of World Christianity, Family Federation for World Peace and Unification, in 1954 in Korea, known as a Loving Life Ministry, based in New York City. Okay, so that's that particular church, the Unification Church. You have Christian Science, which I want to make it clear what Christian Science is. Some people may hear that title and believe that it's in reference to Christians who deal with a scientific viewpoint of the Bible, or Christians who deal with, biblical creationism and use the Bible to deal with some level of scientific research and proving that the worldview that we currently have, which is the predominant worldview that is taught through schools and science, is evolution, showing that biblically as well as scientifically that information is not correct. It's not the most probable, not the most plausible theory as to how the earth was created, and that the Bible presents the most plausible viewpoint of the world's origin. Okay? So that's biblical. That's what you would call biblical creationism. Christian Science, on the other hand, really, I would say, is like one of the early forerunners of the New Age movement. Okay? It was started by Mary Baker Eddy, who was from 1821 to 1910. The actual religion was founded in 1875 in Massachusetts. The headquarters is in Boston, Massachusetts. Okay? So I'm going to read here some of the beliefs, in particular her belief in both God and Christ. It says, according to Mrs. Eddy, God is an impersonal principle of life, truth and love, intelligence and spirit. God is all that truly exists. Matter is an illusion. Now that sounds like a lot, but many of you may have heard of some of those particular theories taught in different ways. Really, this concept that God is not an actual personal being, or not an actual being that has, a personal relationship with mankind, so on and so forth. God is more so a thought, an idea, okay, a form of intelligence, okay? You hear a lot of that philosophy, again, in the New Age movement, which is why this is considered one of the forerunners, the early forerunners of what we call today the New Age movement. As far as Christ, what is believed concerning Christ, Jesus was not the Christ, but a man who displayed the Christ idea. Many of you may have heard of that, and we're going to cover some of that as we go a bit further in today's discussion. The idea that Christ is an idea, it's a thought process. We all have the potential to be Christ, or to achieve Christ consciousness, and all of these different words and terms and cliches that are used by those who follow these particular belief systems. And again, this is mainly a New Age philosophy that started, well, it didn't start. We know that Satan is the progenitor of all these different belief systems, but if we want to give it a time period as far as a religious institution, it started in 1875 under the teachings of Mary Baker Eddy. Okay? Moving on, it says here, the next religion we have is the Unity School of Christianity, started by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, founded in 1899 in Kansas City, Missouri, headquarters in Unity Village, Missouri. Moving on here, we have the New Age movement, based on Eastern mysticism, Hinduism, and paganism, popularized in part by actress Shirley MacLaine. Many of those who, maybe the 70s and 80s, going back to that time period, you had Shirley MacLaine. And during that time period, she was a prominent vocal, I guess you would say a vocal representative of the New Age philosophy. Okay, one of Satan's ministers for that time period, teaching the belief system that we are God and, I am God, so on and so forth. And, all these different, teachings which are involved or descend from the New Age movement. Okay, now we know that belief system that mankind is God. We know that began in the Garden of Eden, where Satan came to Eve and told her that God have not said that you shall not eat of the tree of the garden, for God knoweth in the day that ye eat thereof, of the fruit thereof, ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. So really the New Age movement and philosophy, and a lot of these different philosophies, are a rebranding of what Satan taught in the garden. Okay? So of course this is why they have to give a negative spin on the Bible. Okay? So it says here, it was popularized in part by actress Shirley MacLaine she was born in 1934. In the 1980s and 90s, the beliefs of the New Age movement vary. Okay? Now, some of the literature of the New Age movement, it says here, there's no holy book. Use selected Bible passages. So they may use different passages from the Bible. You know that you are gods and, the children of God, so on and so forth. They may use those particular passages just to kind of get Christians and those who have some level of belief in the Bible or some foundation in the Bible to buy into the philosophy. Okay? Next here we have Wicca. Okay, Wicca. No one person is responsible for the foundation or the founding of Wicca. Roots in the 19th century Britain, partly inspired by Margaret Murray and organized by Gerald Gardner in the 1930s to 50s. Okay, so that's the information on Wicca. Scientology. Founded by L. Ron Hubbard in 1954 in California. Major headquarter facilities in California and Florida. Okay, now L. Ron Hubbard was a disciple of Aleister Crowley, which we've done in the past a few years ago, I think a 3-part, maybe 4-part radio broadcast dealing with the philosophy of Aleister Crowley, which is do as thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and showing how that mindset has permeated in all different aspects of society, whether it be religious, whether it be political, whether it be entertainment, so on and so forth. Okay? And I believe we touched on Aleister Crowley. Well, we did touch on Aleister Crowley in detail in that particular broadcast. Now, L. Ron Hubbard was a disciple of Aleister Crowley. Okay? Him along with a guy that he actually, you can do the research on this, a guy by the name of Jack Parsons, who was the founder of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the JPL. They both did a satanic ritual together called, I believe, Babylon Working, okay, in which they were trying to summon the spirit of Mystery Babylon. Now, the reason why I mentioned Jack Parsons, which is a very interesting fact, is that the information and the research that he studied and founded under the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which was inspired by the teachings of Aleister Crowley, inspired by the teachings of Luciferianism and Satanism, so on and so forth, witchcraft, is the foundation of the technology that was used to start NASA. Okay? So when we make mention that NASA and a lot of these different, which seem like scientific or political organizations, are really founded in Satanism. They're really religious organizations posing as scientific or political organizations, but at the end, they're all fulfilling the mission of Satan, to have Satan get back into the heavens, to have him being worshipped as God. You understand? So these are all of these different organizations are interconnected with some level of satanic worship. Okay? And such is the same for Scientology. Moving on here, we have Islam, which we have a lesson in our academy dedicated to Islam. In Mecca, in Arabia, by Muhammad, considered the greatest man who ever lived, and the last of more than 124,000 messengers sent by Allah. Of course, that is the belief of Muslims. Main types of Islam are Sunni, Shia, and Sufi. Okay? Also here they have the Nation of Islam, which was started by Wallace D. Fard in Detroit in 1930, but led by Elijah Muhammad since 1934. The current head is Louis Farrakhan, headquarters in Chicago, Illinois. Okay? Now, believe it or not, a lot of the belief systems of the Nation of Islam, when you get into the depths of it, you're going to find out that they're also steeped in mysticism and a lot of weird philosophies. Okay? I know it's appealing when you hear Farrakhan speak, or even going back in the day, you hear Malcolm X speak about the plight of the so-called black man in America, how the black man needs to rise, how he needs to be self-sufficient. And all of those things are good, okay? But really, those were the things we were receiving and are currently receiving in this time on the surface. And when you go into the Nation of Islam philosophy, such as Yaqub, the big-head scientist who, grafted the white man or created the white man, God, Allah, created himself out of triple darkness and all these different weird philosophies that are in the Nation of Islam's theology. Okay, the white man has been ruling for the last 6,000 years, when really we know that the progenitor of the so-called white man is Esau, who hasn't been on this earth or was not here for the span of 6,000 years. Okay, there's a lot of weird philosophies there outside of just the black empowerment thing. But moving on, you have the Baha'i Faith, which was started by Sayyid Ali Muhammad, the Bab, and Mirza Hussein Ali. Baha'u'llah, okay, a lot of these are strange words, so I have to admit. But nonetheless, it says it was founded in 1844 in Iran, headquarters in Haifa, Israel. Next, they have Judaism, which of course they're going to try to link Judaism to Abraham, which we know today the modern Judaism does not come from Abraham, even though it's an Abrahamic faith because it holds Abraham as a chief founder or as a chief foundation of its religion. We know that Abraham had nothing to do with what we see being followed in Judaism today. Okay? But it says that Abraham of the Bible about 2000 BC and Moses in the Middle East. There are three main branches of Judaism: Orthodox, Conservative, and Reform, each with its own beliefs. Next, they have Kabbalah Center, which was started by Shragra Fivo Grubreger, now known as Philip S. Berg. Followers claim it was originally founded in 1922 by Rav Yehuda Ashlag in Jerusalem, headquarters in Los Angeles, California. And yes, Los Angeles, California, and the West Coast in particular, but particular California, is steeped in Babylonian Kabbalah worship, especially amongst those within Hollywood circles. Okay? I'm going to speed it up, and I'm just going to name the different religions. I'm not going to go into the founders for the sake of time. But next you have Hinduism, you have Hare Krishna, you have Transcendental Meditation. Okay? And one thing I want to mention about this, the Transcendental Meditation, I believe it's through this belief system or this religion that a lot of people get into the different forms of meditation. They get into the astral projection and all those different things that, people try to claim as a part of consciousness and a part of reaching godhood. A lot of these things they cause you to open up your spirit to demonic forces, which allow you to do some of these things like astral projection, so on and so forth. But for the sake of time, we'll move forward and get to some of these other beliefs. You have Sikhism, Buddhism, Rawchaa, GOCC International. And then afterwards, it goes into the different sects of Christianity. Okay? So you have the Catholic Church, you have the Orthodox churches, you have Lutheran churches, which were started by Martin Luther or inspired by Martin Luther's 95 Thesis, challenging the Catholic teachings, usually the mark of the beginning of the Protestant Reformation. You have the Anglican churches, which it says here, 1534, King Henry VIII was declared head of the Church of England. And it just goes through the different history of the Anglican Church. You have the Presbyterian churches, Methodist churches, Anabaptist churches, okay, Congregational churches. You have Baptist churches, Churches of Christ, as well as Pentecostal churches. Now, what we'll probably do in the future is maybe in the academy or another forum, we'll go in depth into all those different sects of religion, and we'll break them down, not only the history, we'll go into what they believe as far as their theology, their belief system, their viewpoint on the Bible, so on and so forth. But the main reason why I went through those different belief systems was to kind of give you an idea of the different philosophical and religious viewpoints that people have been spread under. And when I say people, not only am I speaking about the children of Israel, who were the chosen people of the Bible, who were given the law, statutes, and commandments of God, but also other nations, which really Israel was responsible for being a light to these nations and showing them the one true path to God. But because we fell, it kind of left an opening okay, a vacuum of power in which all the other nations and their religious viewpoints and all their different philosophies now became the majority, okay, or became the accepted viewpoints of the world, okay? So I wanted to just give that as a, this is a foundation for this conversation because, as I mentioned earlier, many of us were scattered through these different philosophies. Now, before we move forward and open up the lines, there's a few other things I wanted to cover, okay? There's a video on YouTube you can go and watch called Oprah Denies Jesus is the Only Way to Salvation in Heaven. Many of you may have seen this video where she has guests on her show and they're speaking about different philosophical views, stating that, Christ is not the only way to salvation in heaven. And I guess Oprah Winfrey took this as an opportunity to introduce to her audience what it is she truly believes. Because for the most part, many people thought that Oprah was a good old Christian because this is what she depicts in a lot of her movies, as a, either a slave or a servant or something of that nature, under a somewhat Christian society. Okay? But at this point, she decided to inject her personal belief as far as what it is she believes, and her audience at this point in time rejected what it is she was bringing forth as far as there being many different ways to salvation in heaven. And they did that rightfully so. Also, one thing I wanted to show again through Minicam is, of course, there's a new song out there called God is a Woman by Ariana Grande, which really tries to associate God with, intercourse and relegating the position and the power of God to an experience in the bedroom, which is total blasphemy. But I'm mentioning this because these are all the different viewpoints and the different paths that have been introduced either through religion or popular culture as it pertains to God, what God is, who God is, and what the path to God is. Okay? Also, before we go into it, to kind of bring this to life, I wanted to go through a list of, some of our people who are celebrity and who just so happen to follow some of these different belief systems. The first one we have here is Buddhist. Okay. Now here there's an article called the Top 10 Celebrity Buddhists. And it says here, just to read the introduction to this article, again, it's called the Top 10 Celebrity Buddhists. And this is from Wild Mind Buddhist Meditation. So this is a Buddhist website. So it says here, when we started putting together this list, it seems like it was going to be nothing more than a shallow, trivial, although perhaps welcome, distraction from all the news about the disastrous wars and sordid political scandals. But as we dug deeper into the web, we found that we felt at times inspired by reading about the practice of famous Buddhists. It goes on to say that some of whom have had their trials. We hope that you too will be inspired and entertained by Wild Mind's top 10 list of celebrity Buddhists. Okay? So I'm going to go in specific to those that are most notable. Okay, you have Steven Seagal, who is a Buddhist. Kate Bosworth, who is a Buddhist. Richard Gere, who is a Buddhist. Next here you have, lo and behold, Herbie Hancock. Okay, which, for those who are music buffs, you may remember, I think he was prominent back in the 80s. Okay, and I think he did the theme song, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he did the theme music for, not Beverly Hills, I think it's Beverly Hills Cop, or whatever that movie was that Eddie Murphy starred in, Police Academy. One of those particular movies he did the theme music for. I think also he did the theme music for Ghostbusters. Okay. Next we have here, let me go, of course the Dalai Lama is a Buddhist, okay, one of Satan's top ministers. Here we have Tina Turner, who is also a Buddhist. Many of you remember that movie, that biopic on her life. What's love got to do with it? She goes through a life of abuse by the hands of Ike Turner, and eventually she is freed through the religion of Buddhism, as they say. Okay, was she really freed, or was she put into a deeper state of spiritual abuse and oppression? Okay. Last but not least, number 1, they have here Tiger Woods, who is also a Buddhist. Next, we're going to look at Muslims, famous black Muslims. Okay. One of the most notable here, of course, we know is Muhammad Ali, who was in particular, originally he was a follower of the Nation of Islam. We know later in his life, I think after Elijah Muhammad died, he began to link into Orthodox Islam. Okay, Muhammad Ali. Next here you have Mahershala Ali. Some of the works or some of the movies he was in, Hidden Figures, House of Cards. Okay, I think he was also, for those who have ever seen Luke Cage, I think he's also in that film. And I think the same brother, he looks like the same brother that was in that film. In fact, I don't want to confuse him. He does look like the brother that was in that movie. I forget the name of it, but it was really a homosexual propaganda piece, and particularly aimed at the black community. Okay, he looks like him, but I'm not sure if it's the same guy. So I'm not going to mention. I'm not going to mention that that's that particular guy, but nonetheless, moving forward, this one here was a surprise to me. You have Shaquille O'Neal, who is now proclaiming to be a Muslim. Okay, Shaquille O'Neal. Let's see who else we have here. We have Dave Chappelle, who is also, a professed Muslim. Other notable Muslims or so-called black Muslims are Janet Jackson. Remember, she got married to I believe she got married to an Arab, and at that time converted to Islam. You have Hakeem Olajuwon, Mike Tyson, Ice Cube, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lupe Fiasco, Jermaine Jackson, Iman, I think her name is pronounced, who was a supermodel. At one point, I believe she was a supermodel. Okay. Busta Rhymes, Akon, Mos Def. Okay. As well as Q-Tip. Okay. So these are all celebrities, entertainers of our community that profess Islam. Okay. Mormons. Okay. 10 famous black Mormons. I'll deal for the sake of time with the most notable. Okay. Some of you may be familiar with Jabari Parker, who is, a NBA player drafted in 2014. Let's see who else you have here. You have Ludmilla Bordeaux, Mia Love, who is the first black mayor in Utah. You know that Utah is really like the capital of Mormonism. You have Winetta Willis Martin, who sought to prove that black people exist in the Mormon Church. You have Eldridge Cleaver, who was at one point a prominent member of the Black Panthers. He is a Mormon. You have Gladys Knight, who was, and I believe still is, one of the prominent artists within the black community. Okay, very, very talented, but nonetheless, she is a Mormon. Okay, so those were the most notable. Others, you can go to this website. In fact, I'll give you the information on this. This is called MormonHub.com, and it says that the title of this article is a beautiful infographic of 10 famous black Mormons. Okay. Last but not least, we have from Atlanta Black Star an article titled 8 Black Celebrities You Won't Believe Were Linked to Scientology. It says here that Scientology is a body of beliefs, related practices created by science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard. In 1952, a successor to its earlier self-help self-help system, Dianetics. And we know that recently, a few years ago, the Nation of Islam under Farrakhan adopted the belief system of Dianetics amongst the Nation of Islam. Keep in mind that L. Ron Hubbard was a disciple of Aleister Crowley, and his teachings are now have been grafted into the Nation of Islam. Not that at any point the Nation of Islam was ever on the right path in the first place, but nonetheless, you know, they've so to speak added a cherry on top of their confusion. Okay, we have Hubbard, who has characterized Scientology as a religion, and in 1953 he incorporated the Church of Scientology in Camden, New Jersey. Okay, so they have a list of people here who are prominent or were once prominent stars or celebrities within the black community who are in some way, shape, or form connected to the Mormon Church. The first one they have here is Brandy Norwood. Okay, it says in an interview in 2004, Norwood, speaking of Brandy Norwood, told Africana.com that she had once enrolled in Scientology classes. And this is her quote based on her experience as a Scientologist. It basically consists of questions that probe really deeply into your life, and said, I am not a Scientologist, but I do love what I have experienced. That's Brandy Norwood. Okay, a lot of us remember her from the 90s, not only for her music, but she had the sitcom Moesha. Okay, she is connected with the Mormon Church. Next here they have Dougie Fresh, where it says in 2009, hip-hop pioneer Dougie Fresh opened up about his affiliation with the Church of Scientology. In an interview with Essence Magazine, the star talked about what Scientology means to him and why others should consider it. Now, many of you may not know that for a large portion of his career, Dougie Fresh actually identified as a Hebrew Israelite. Okay, you can actually see in some of his early videos him identifying as an Israelite. Okay, as well as some of his early music. But it says here in 2009 or 2009 that he opened up about his affiliation with the Church of Scientology. So I'm not sure if he still identifies as an Israelite, but he is currently also dealing with Scientology. You have Shaka Khan, who states that I've taken some courses in Scientology and they've been very, very helpful through life's ups and downs. You have Will Smith, who is associated with Scientology. You have Al Jarreau, which was and I believe he still is. I'm not sure if he's still active, but he was a jazz singer. Okay. And it says he became with the Church of Scientology in the late 1960s. So he's one of the early members of the Church of Scientology amongst the black community. Okay, as far as those who are notable. You have Isaac Hayes. Okay, who is also linked or was linked to the Church of Scientology. Of course, he passed away a few years ago. Okay, but he was associated with the Church of Scientology. Okay, you have Haywood Nelson, who was a part of the 70s television sitcom What's Happening. Many of us in the black community growing up, we remember that show, What's Happening. Okay, Haywood Nelson, who starred in that particular show, is connected with the Church of Scientology. Okay, it says here Persia White, best known as Lynn from the UPN television series Girlfriends, is reportedly a Scientologist, and that's the last one they provide. Okay, so these are all people who would be acknowledged as prominent members of our society, or of our community in particular, who are connected with different religious viewpoints, whether it be Mormons, whether it be Scientology, okay, whether it be the New Age philosophy such as Oprah, okay. So this moves me as a segue into the next portion of this discussion, okay. This moves me into the next portion of this discussion. We now know and understand that not only that many of us were involved in some of these religious beliefs and philosophies, but that there are many of our people that are in prominent roles in society, whether celebrities, political people, religious leaders, so on and so forth, that are involved also in some of these religious and philosophical organizations. So, for you brothers and sisters, those of you who are in these organizations, I'm going to open up the line so that you can give your testimony, and of course we're going to try to be brief with the testimonies, but nonetheless provide understanding as to what you were in, but then also provide us with the turning point. Like, what was the turning point in which you realized that you were following a path that was adverse to the Most High in Christ, a path that was adverse to the truth? And also give words of wisdom for those who may still be in those belief systems. When I say words of wisdom, you know, if you had, let's say, a family member, a friend, a loved one who is still in that religion, what word of wisdom would you give them to open up their understanding as to what they're following and how the path that they're following, where that path is leading to? Is it leading to the Most High, or is it leading somewhere else? Okay, we're going to discuss that on the other side of this broadcast, but at this time we're going to make a few announcements. First and foremost, we want to announce that the latest or the next Hebrew Online Bible Academy begins on September 16th. Okay, Sunday, September 16th is the next Hebrew Online Bible Academy. For those who have been in the academy before and you would like to enroll again, you will be able to do so through historytimes.org. For those who have never been in the academy but would like to try out the academy to receive some of the information and some of the history that we deal with as it pertains to some of these religions, so on and so forth, you can also go to historytimes.org and enroll into the upcoming academy. In the academy, you can learn the original Hebrew language. You're going to receive on-the-ground news from all around the world, ancient history and Bible studies, and the lessons. We're going to make sure we update the lessons for this particular academy. So again, if you're interested, you can either send an email to gatheringas1@AOL.com, or you can simply go to our website, gatheringofchrist.org. We have a tab in our website specifically for the academy. What you can do is click on that tab, and it will provide you a link to where you can enroll in the academy, as well as see some of the different testimonies of those who have actually been in the academy, as well as a few lessons, the names of a few lessons that we go through in the academy. Okay? Also, we want to announce that when it comes to the calendars, the 218 GOCC calendar, we still have calendars that are available. You can also find that on our website, gatheringofchrist.org. We have a tab specifically for calendars, so if you're still interested in ordering one for yourself or someone in your family, you can please feel free to do so. Go to our website, gatheringofchrist.org, click on the link for GOCC 2018 Hebrew calendar, and it will take you to a page where you can make your order, okay, or place your order. Also, we want to make sure that you all know and are informed that on our website, there's a lot of different information, a lot of FAQs, a lot of testimonies. We have a forum on our website for those who would like to interact with others of the same mindset, of the same fold, who are throughout the four corners of the earth. And we're going to be uploading more information to our website. Okay, there's a lot of information already, but we're going to keep it up to date with different articles, different things from around the world that we're actually looking to do either in the community or just different things that come to mind, different ideas, you know, just to keep you updated as to where we are as a ministry, as well as to keep you informed on certain things as far as doctrine or what have you. All of that information can be found, and more information will be found and uploaded to our website, gatheringofchrist.org. Okay. Now, before we get back into the broadcast, I do want to make mention of a few more things. Number one, we do accept types and donations. So if you would like to make donations out to the church to help the ministry, to help with travels, to get to different areas and set up churches, you can go to our website, gatheringofchrist.org. And in there, we have a link to historytimes.org, which provides you with information as to where you can send your donations. Also, I would like to make some announcements as it pertains to the GOCC network. Okay. So we're going to go through the list of businesses that can be found on the network. Beginning with Shea & Company Consulting, which is professional legal advice from Brother Shapat. We have a book called Recovering from Autism, which is one family's journey of hope and healing. We have Desired Promise, which is natural products, including hair butters, body butters, scrubs, and more. We have Exodus Herbal Gum and Tooth Powder, which you heard the advertisement earlier. We have Heavenly Treasures, which is essential oils and information on healing, well-being, and more. We have Above Rubies, which is homemade hair care products with moisturizing butters and oil extracts. We have Virtuous Light, which is homemade and hand-poured candles made with love. We have Ahias Promise Herbals, which is natural body scrubs, deodorants, creams, and more. We have Love is Obedience, which is one family's story of portraying the image of love, sacrifice, and obedience to parents. We have Amina's Blessed Naturals, which is fermented probiotic products that help to heal skin conditions, Lawya. We have Infotechie, which is web design, PC laptop repairs, networking, custom logos, and banners located in the New Orleans area. We have Fringes by Sister Math, which is custom-made Hebrew attire, including dresses, garments, scarves, shawls, tassels, and more. We have Sawaka Bar, which is children's books and more. We have The Archives, which is professional tech services, including film and video production, graphic design, web development, and home technical support. We have Wholesome Publications, which is business cards, bookmarkers, flyers, brochures, posters, banners, magnets, table covers, and more. We have SY Cultured Clothing, which is custom-made clothing made to order. Each garment is a piece of art. We also have HOW Blessed, which is How Blessed Holy Anointing Oil and How Blessed Holy Day greeting cards. We have Ahaya Love, which is women's t-shirts, designs inspired by the Bible. We have Rafi Institute, which is handcrafted jewelry and culture, as culture never goes out of style. We have Natty Essentials, which is handmade deodorants, lotions, body cream, soaps, and more. And that concludes the list of businesses that are currently under the GOCC network. If you would like to patronize these businesses, you can go to our website, gatheringofchrist.org. We have a section for the GOCC network and where you can find the list of businesses, how you can get in contact with them, how you can order their products, so on and so forth. Also, if you would like to become a member of the network and promote your business, you can also go to our website, gatheringofchrist.org, go to the section which is predominantly for the GOCC network, and you can find out how to enroll so that you can become a member of the network, and we'll promote your business also on the radio show and in other forums. And that concludes those particular announcements. The last announcement I want to make is for I Am Apparel, which is the official clothing line of the Gathering of Christ Church. If you would like to order some of the different items that you may see us wearing, t-shirts, some of you may have already seen, and some of you may have purchased some of the clothing from the website or from I Am Apparel. Well, for those who are new and those who would like to actually find some of that merchandise, you can go to our website, gatheringofchrist.org. Okay? And on gatheringofchrist.org, we have a link directly for I Am Apparel, where you can order some of the t-shirts, some of the hoodies. We have hats also available on I Am Apparel. Just so many different items, and we're continually adding more products to the I Am Apparel store. So to keep up to date, just consistently go to the website. We're also updating the look of the site, giving it a new, more appealing look. So again, if you want to buy some of that merchandise, go to gatheringofchrist.org. I Am Apparel, and you'll be able to find some of those t-shirts, hoodies, and other merchandise. With that concludes the announcements, and at this time we're going to get back to the broadcast, which is titled, Is There Only One Path to God? There are many concepts in religion, entertainment, and pop culture of who and what God is, and the path one must take to get to Him. As believers in the Most High, Christ, and the Bible, how do we use what we know about God to show those who are in darkness the one true path? Keep in mind that we were once followers of the diverse paths that exist in the world today. Point in your life did you find out that the path that you were on was leading you in an opposite direction of God? Please share your experience as we delve into tonight's topic, Is There Only One Path to God? Now, before I open up the lines, I want to read a few scriptures just to kind of give insight as to where some of us once were before we came into the knowledge of the truth. Okay? So it gives us a little bit of perspective to show that we're not saying that we floated down from heaven and, we were always on the righteous path, so on and so forth. We also at one point were following different belief systems, different ideologies, different philosophies, so on and so forth. But at some point, as the Most High called us out of those different religious belief systems, as He called us from those different paths, we took heed, as Christ said, that when He calls His sheep will hear Him. Well, we, as the Lord's sheep, took heed to His calling. Okay? We're just getting back to that point, that time period in our life in which we may have not followed the truth. Okay? I'm going to read this here in the book of, let me get it here. Okay? This is 1 Corinthians chapter 6. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse number 9, where it says, Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. And such were some of you. And why am I mentioning this in relation to different philosophical and religious viewpoints? Well, you're going to find out that a lot of these different religious sects and organizations do not have principles or laws against some of these actions. Okay? Such as drunkenness, such as effeminacy, such as abusing yourself with mankind. Okay? Dealing with the, homosexuality, lesbianism, so on and so forth. Okay? Many of these religions don't have any particular laws against these practices. Now, for the most part, every so-called religious philosophy that's trying to seek peace and, sanctity and so-called righteousness all have some level of principles that deal with, things such as murder and thievery, so on and so forth. Okay? So I'm not going to be disingenuous and say that all of these belief systems do not have some level of law or some level of standard. Okay? But for the most part, a lot of these different belief systems, even those who deal in atheism, those who deal in different, whether you want to talk about Africanism and the conscious community, so on and so forth, they don't have laws that deal with these particular aspects of life. Okay? As far as sin go. Okay? But the key point I wanted to get is in verse 11 where it says, And such were some of you. Meaning many of us at one point found ourselves dealing in these different practices while we were within these different organizations, while we were following these different religious philosophies. Ye are washed, but you're sanctified, but you're justified in the name of the Lord Yeshua by the Spirit of our God. So it is the truth of Christ and the Spirit of God that justifies us, that washes us, and sanctifies us from the paths that we once followed in this earth. Okay? So, At this time, I'm going to open up the line. I want to get some of your input as far as which of these philosophies that we covered were you once a part of, and what was the turning point of your life that let you or open up your eyes to the idea that maybe this is not the right path. Let me try to find a new and better way to get to the Most High God. Okay? So I'm going to open up the lines. First here we have the last four digits, 6991. You're live on Blog Talk.
Shalom, Elder Lawya. Can you hear me?
Loud and clearly. How you doing, brother?
All right, how you doing? Blessed by the best.
All right. I hear that. I'm doing well, brother. The water. Okay, so the topic of discussion. Right, so the topic of discussion is there's only one path to God. Is there anything in particular you would like to share as far as your journey, you following a different path in your, former life, and what was the turning point that led you to where you are now?
Okay, so my name is Brother Yashar from New York City congregation, and I would have to say prior to coming into the knowledge of the truth and the gospel, I was in Christianity, and my oldest brother he's 31 years old, and also this is the same group when I talk about the Brooklyn church who merged in New York City. So he was seeking the truth. His best friend was seeking the truth, and his best friend taught him. So he taught me, and I was actually very young. I was 16 years old. So prior to that, I was in the Christian church. And, I was just doing it, going through the motions of it because my mother was raising us in the church. And there were certain things that I would notice, and I was like, maybe let me just put a blind eye to it. For an example, when Sandy hit, my basement was flooded, and it actually destroyed the basement, the house that I live in Brooklyn. And my mom reached out to the church for help. They denied the help, but in return, they just sent her a box of used clothes. And a box of used old clothes that do not fit none of her children, that was not even what she asked for. And I'm talking about someone who would faithfully give the church money all the time. So that, I was like, okay, Christ talks about giving and loving thy neighbor as you love thyself. That's definitely one turn off. But basically, I was still going through the motions because I thought the Christian church was the right way. But it was not until Hazak, which is my oldest brother's best friend, and my oldest brother, Randy, taught me when I was 16 years old, like, we're the children of Israel. And how they learned was through a video Elder Rawchaa once did. And he began to teach, like, yo, we're the children of Israel. And he was casting out imaginations one after the other. Christianity, Christ is actually not a white image. Here's what the Bible states. And then after that, they just told us I had to learn more information, watch this YouTube link. And that was a YouTube channel link to the Gathering of Christ Church. So I was into Christianity, but because I was fortunate enough for my oldest brother to teach me, I was very young. So at that time, of course, I was a slave to sin. You're worried about girls, you're worried about the best clothes, you're worried about having the freshest sneakers and things of and vanity of that sense. But it wasn't until I went to college, and that's when I was like, okay, I know that I had a perception of college, like, okay, everybody here just wants to party, drink, and smoke. That I knew that, and sleep around. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna make sure that I keep myself away from that. I'm prepared to be alone. That's my mindset when I was going to college. I'm prepared to be alone because I don't think people are gonna really want to follow the Most High God in his true form, which is keeping the Sabbath and doing away with unjust things. But then, interestingly enough, the Most High grew a little flock at the college that I was with, and a few people would one by one would inquire things about the Most High, and I would just tell them. And eventually, these people, to modern day, have endured this truth, and I give all praise to the Most High. And my sole purpose of calling today was because on Saturday, Elder Gabar told me to call in today to talk about the college club, because you see how you asked a question, you was like, how can we use what we know today to shed light on people? And Elder Gabar and I and many other college students, we're discussing a college club that we're going to try to come out with. So him and Elder Rawchaa have been discussing names and things of that nature, and everything is going to get ironed out in the near future. But that's one thing that I think is going to be very, very, very important and useful for the Hebrew community, and that is to get like a club of the Gathering of Christ Church in colleges. And there's actually an event that's coming up, and me and the other brothers and sisters and who are in college at the College of Matt, which is Brockport, a small town in upstate New York, we're going to be at that event, and we're going to be discussing the name Elder Gabar has so far. It could change in the future. It's Christian Commandment Keepers, and we're going to be at that event, and we're going to basically have like a trifold board discussing different tenets of Christianity and why we are separating ourselves. And I like the title because it's a catch, Christian Commandment Keepers. The true definition of Christian is a follower of Christ. So we're definitely followers of Christ in that sense. But why do we differ from all the religions that you brought out earlier in the lesson, in the radio program? We keep the commandments, starting with Exodus 20, the Sabbath day, having no other gods before him, those things of that nature, peeling that off. And I think that a college club is very necessary. And one thing me and Elder Gabar is also discussing is potential ways that this club can grow to other schools as well. And another idea that I have for that is everybody who's in the Gathering of Christ Church now, regardless of what state you're in, if you're like 17 or 18 years old, we have to start going to college in groups. It doesn't have to say like 10 people or 8, maybe a group of 3, because you don't want to have the adversary use you while you're by yourself. Because I was talking to some brothers and sisters Saturday at the end of the Shabbat, telling them when you go to college, you've got to be prepared. I was like, this is the mindset you have, and this is the wisdom words that you was also asking us for. The only one I have is Hebrews 11, verse 26. And Hebrews 11 is just going into faith, and verse 25, it's talking about Moses. So it was saying by faith Moses, but this is the example that it gave with Moses. Verse 25 states, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. And I use that, and I want all brothers and sisters to use that mindset, and not even just college. That's everything. But my audience is to the college students or people who's going to college is to not enjoy pleasures of sin for a season. College is a short time of your life. And believe it or not, there's some people at my college who have lost their life because, like I said, all there is to do is drink, smoke, sleep around, and more vanity. And people have actually got drunk and jumped into the canal that's by the campus, being drunk. And then next thing you know, there's a college email, oh, this person passed away. And many parties and people getting injured and fighting from parties. It's like a sin fest when you go to college. So I think that the club is going to be that beacon of light in a world of sin. So we're just trying to get a college club in all colleges. And we're starting, and it's starting Elder Gabar. We're starting one in New York under Elder Gabar and also Officer Sean. And I think that is one thing that could really help to get our youth to not go over or lose their Christian faith going to college, because they'll go to college and hopefully, if it be the will of the Most High, they could run into us, and this club could grow and grow to maybe different states, maybe a different country, who knows, different states, and many people will be a part of the Commandment Keepers, which would be under the Gathering of Christ Church.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you, brother, for that testimony as well as those announcements. I'm going to put you back in the queue. All right?
Okay, Elder.
All right. Shalom, brother.
Shalom, Elder.
All right. And I'm glad the brother mentioned those things as far as, setting up groups that would be beneficial, not just within the church, but also within the different aspects of our community, like those that are in college. And we had this discussion yesterday, and of course, I'm not going to put anything out there before it's time, but, myself, Elder Rawchaa, Elder Rawchaa of Philadelphia, Elder Gabar of New York, yesterday we sat down and we spoke about a few things as far as mobilizing the church and becoming more active in the different communities, even though right now, as we speak, there's you may often see myself at Elder Gabar, you may see Elder Rawchaa, you may see, other elders, so on and so forth, on YouTube or what have you, and other deacons on YouTube. But behind the scenes, when the cameras are off, there's a lot of work going on within the community in different areas. Okay? So we don't want to downplay the work that's already being done by different brothers that are, in different areas of the church, holding it down, doing different things in the community. And because we don't have a camera there to see it, many people may question, okay, what are you doing in the community, so on and so forth. Well, trust me when I say that work is being done, okay? But we're looking to broaden that work and make sure that in, all of the different areas, we have something that is a consistent haven, a place where the community can look to and know that, okay, we're there, whatever we need to do in order to broaden this bridge between us and our community so that we can be a light to our brothers and sisters, okay? And again, we discussed some things yesterday. I'm not going to put anything out before it's time, but you brothers and sisters will receive that information very soon, okay? But again, I thank the brother for the call. Next, we have the 646 area code, last 4 digits, 2003. You're live on Blog Talk.
Hello?
Yes, shalom, sister. You're live on Blog Talk.
Shalom, Elder Lawya. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Great. Blessed by the best. I'm similar to Brother Yashar. We go to the same college.
Okay.
But on my story, before I came into the truth, I was raised as a Catholic. But actually, so many things didn't make sense that I eventually became an atheist. So I used to say, I am God, I don't believe in God, and definitely living that world of darkness. And even though I was an atheist, like a few months before I came into the truth, I actually was at a party with my whole family and then baptized in the morning, just to show you how the Catholic Church operates. That the only requirement that I needed in order to baptize someone was like a 1-day, 1-hour course. And everyone knew, we're all in the world, the godfather and the godmother, which is myself baptizing my little cousin. And what led me into the truth, how the Most High woke me up from being atheist, actually, someone did witchcraft to my grandmother and witchcraft to a few other members of my family. And also, one of my cousins committed suicide because someone else did witchcraft to him in the Dominican Republic. I'm from the tribe of Simeon. And I grew up, hearing about or somehow knowing about different forms of witchcraft. So I was always afraid of demons, afraid of spirits. And even when I was an atheist, sometimes I'd be afraid of the dark, I'd be afraid of certain things. And also my ex-best friend used to read my tarot cards, and they used to be super accurate. Well, I just started to think, if I'm scared of, demons or spirits, then I have to know that there's something spiritually evil outside of this world. So then it kind of made me to start thinking, everything can't just be evil. If you can prove that someone can be possessed, then that means that the devil is real. So that would mean that God has to be real, because everything can't just be evil. So then I started to think, I was 18 at the time, I'm 22 now. I started to think, if I die today, what is going to happen to me? And I just thought, I'm not going to make it happen. Or whatever it's called, whatever it is, I know I'm not going to make it because I never even tried. So I said to myself, you know what, if there's a God, it's my responsibility to find him. It's my responsibility to figure out what the truth is. I can't just be at the day of judgment and say, I didn't know, when I didn't even try, I didn't even look, I didn't even care. So I said, you know what, whatever the true religion is, that's what I'm going to follow. I said, if I have to be a Muslim, a Hindu, a Buddhist, whatever it is, that's what I'll do. So I told my grandma I'm looking for God. She gave me a Bible. And then around this time, I was coming upstate to school to where Yashar went. It was both of our first years here. And on the bus, I just remember thinking, I'm going to find God. Whether that means, doing my first communion as a Catholic, whatever that means. Then, long story short, I became friends with a brother who was trying to become a Muslim. And I was kind of looking for God. I was willing to become a Muslim as well. But I wanted to look more into the Bible first, because I didn't want to convert to something and not know about the Bible, which I had grown up never really understanding anyways. So we went to a Bible study together. On our way back, we were speaking, about Islam and Christianity, and he said, I want you to meet the most knowledgeable person about religion that I've ever met. And as he said it, actually Yashar from the calls that just passed by. And me and him already knew each other because we lived on the same floor, but we didn't speak as much. And as he said, it was him, and he passed by. And that's how I came into the truth. And in that moment, he started asking me questions, what color was Christ, and, you know, about us being Israel. And at the moment, he didn't have a Bible with him, but I knew that everything that he was saying was true. And I just had goosebumps, and I knew it was the Spirit of the Most High because about a week before that, my friend who was a Muslim wanted me to stop eating pork. And I said, I'll never stop eating pork. And I filled up my plate with bacon and ate it, had no remorse. And that day when he said no pork, no Christmas, no nothing, I was just like, all right, this is it. All praises to the Most High. That I feel like the one scripture that really comes to mind is when it says, you know, that your spirit was bearing record, that it was the truth, and it had to be the Most High. Because how did I know that it was the truth? He didn't even have a Bible with him. It was just the words that he was saying from the Bible and mentioning scripture. So, all praises to the Most High.
Absolutely. And as the scripture says, as Christ tells us, the word that he speaks unto us is truth. So it's the word, it's the spirit of that word that turns us on to the Most High, turns us on to recognize the truth. But nonetheless, sister, thank you for that testimony. What a beautiful and powerful testimony by both you and Brother Yashar. And hopefully through this organization that you guys are building, you can be a light to a lot of our other brothers and sisters that are in college, because again, I mean, we can't say it enough. Myself personally, I've never stepped foot on a college campus or university, but I have heard stories. And the stories I hear are abominable. Okay? You talk about the one place in earth that turns you, even those who are staunch believers, it turns you into a monster against the Most High. I mean, man, our brothers and sisters are definitely going to need more organizations like this, and we're going to try to make sure as time progresses, as the brother stated, that this branches out throughout the United States and the world over. So again, sister, thank you for your call. I'm going to put you back in the queue, all right? All right, shalom.
Shalom.
All right, next we have 941, last four digits, 7299. You're live on Blog Talk.
Shalom, Elder.
Shalom, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, sir. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you, brother. Thank you. All right, so...
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, sir. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was opening the floor for you to go into your testimony, so you can start whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready, sir. I appreciate you. I came from I grew up in an Islamic country. I grew up as a Muslim all my life, so I have mentioned this before, but looking from a different perspective, when I came here, I met bunch of different brothers, also several were Muslims. So looking at the point of it was like two different type of worshiping in Islam. As of let me put it together. Like while over there, 22 years of my life I grew up in it. So while I was over there, when you mentioned that other countries that had believers of Islam, they're like, no, they were just like, yeah, they don't know anything about it. They're just saying they're Muslims. That was the outlook of from a Islam country. Looking to for instance, America. So but what I'm trying to say, Islam was all good and dandy going through it while you learned the principles, the respect, morals, which was all stolen from the Israelite culture, first off. But going through that, when I came over here, ran into the truth, what I realized what you're missing was, I didn't have the spirit then. The spirit wasn't with you. You was believing in a worshiping. It was just, my eyes were, totally wide open for everything, to lies, all praise to the Most High, you know. I mean, you receive the Spirit. That's what was missing. I was worshiping in a different God, you know, and I didn't realize this. You know, it was just I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was, you know, going to work, respecting my elders, you know, the right fundamentals, you know, trying to be a man, you know, growing up, be a decent man, so I can teach, you know, ongoing. So, but no, it was the Spirit was missing. Once I received the Spirit, it just took everything to a whole nother level. You realize, you realize the whole point is just, you know, the fear comes in, then the love comes in, and it just, all the emotions, and then you just realize, like, okay, I was worshiping this God, but I didn't realize, man, I was just doing what I was doing, you know. I didn't have that fear. I didn't have that love, you know, that, you know, I'm terrified, you know, certain times it just, you know, it just pops in, hey, don't do this. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm done. So, you know, I know I might be just babbling, but, I mean, this is the experience I went through, sir. So, I mean, it's an amazing experience, and it's very touching to hear younger generation and younger youth is receiving the Spirit. Is, you know, it's amazing. I mean, it's just amazing. I love it. So that's all I got to say, sir.
So let me ask you, brother, what was the turning point for you, if there was any particular moment where you thought, you know what, you know,
thank you
Islam is not the way.
When I had that in mind, it just, every time I talk to you guys, I get excited for some reason, sir. So, my turning point was actually when I realized that, like, we had no idea I had no idea of Isaac. Not one day at the mosque, they said, hey, it's not Ishmael, it's Isaac. Like, that shocked my world. I'm like, who is Isaac? Like, I had no idea, even though, like I'm not pointing fingers, but like a Christian, you got a Bible, I had a Quran, you know. But just, you go to the mosque, you sit, you know, just same routine, and you're not taught the right fundamentals. You're not taught the right, you know, direction, because it was, okay, Abraham took Ishmael for sacrifice. When I found that out, then it was, I mean, when I found out who Allah was, like, I mean, like I said, it was just, when the Spirit hit me, like, the whole, it didn't take me, like, too long to drop it. I mean, my wife, she came into truth before me, and she was telling me about, look, hey, Allah is this, Allah. I'm like, man, you crazy. She was like, Muhammad is this. I'm like, man, get out my face. No, it was just wrong, but she was just pointing it out. I didn't want to hear it, because I'm like, I grew up in this. I'm like, you can't be right. You know what I mean, sir? Like, so I didn't have the Spirit. That's when I realized, when I actually sat down and realized, well, this was all a lie. Why are they lying? You know, when I realized the deception, it wasn't that hard for me to just say, hey, you know what, I'm done. You know, I don't have a religion. I'm going to follow these commandments. I'm going to follow the Most High and follow Yeshua, my Christ and Savior. And I'm teaching this to my sister as we go, so she can pass it on to my other, you know, my mom far down, because I don't have any family over here. So
okay.
Yeah. So
let me ask this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let me ask this: what words of wisdom would you leave with, you know, those of your family, your friends, you know, in love, letting them know that, you know, as you have went through this turning point, you know, what words of wisdom would you leave with them to help them reach a turning point?
Well, my thing was, like, I'm from Turkey, so Turkey is like nothing but like a graveyard. Okay, I couldn't get it out, but it's nothing but just history everywhere. So I told my sister, I said, look, you know, you're around this. Go to this location, check this out. You know, that was one of the things I tell them. And then my main thing I put it to her over and over is the fear. You know, you have to realize what we're dealing with here. You know, you can't just say, hey, okay, I know some, but, you know, just continue worshiping Allah. That's not going to save you. It's not going to help you at all. So, and like I told her to look Psalms 96:4. You know, there's a bunch of gods, but there's one God, the Creator of all heaven. So this is what we need to worship and follow. So I tell you know, and I don't get to talk to my sister all the time due to hour difference. She's busy. I'm just worldly things, but as I do, sir, I try to pass it down so she can save my mom, and it's just, elder they get, it's just harder for to convince these adults. I mean, I don't know, just people.
Well, we try our best, and of course, I know your family is still overseas, but the best example is living by example, or the best way to convert is living by example. So as long as you continue to love them, respect them, and honor them, you'll always have a door of opportunity to share these words of wisdom with them, and have the opportunity to show them that there is a different path than what's being taught in Islam.
Yep.
All right.
Oh man, yes it is. Yes it is.
All right. So thank you, brother, for your call. And
Mr. Rawchaa, I appreciate you. Yes, sir.
Hey, brother, I appreciate you. Shalom.
Shalom, sir.
All right, we have the next area code is 347, last four digits, 5818. You're live on Blog Talk.
Hi, good evening. This is Nestle. I'm from Brooklyn. I was just listening earlier about all the religions. I didn't even know how much religions is out there like that. And when I think about it, it makes you more. If you're not in the truth, it makes you more confused of where God is. And I grew up in the Christian church, and my family and stuff like that. And one thing about the Christian church, at one point in time, when I left and I knew the truth, I resented them for a long time because I thought they lied to me. But I understood that they're going through these trials just like I did, and I guess I was just looking at it like people have their own path, and they will find Christ. But one thing, just coming out the Christian church and leaving that all, I grew up and I started looking at the world, and I'm like, man, we especially with what's going on with the presidency, and that's why I started coming to the truth, because I understood that there's something bad. There's so much atrocities going on. I'm from Haiti, and I start seeing a lot of bad stuff happen in the earth, and to be honest with you, when you get this truth, it's a sweet thing, but we're going down in the belly. It's like a tummy ache, because you know this truth, you understand what's going on, and you try to relay it to other people, and they don't really understand where you're coming from. Only people understand is people in the truth. And sometimes I just walk outside and I look at what's going on, and I'm like, man, it's clear as day to me, but it's just it's a sad thing that people don't get the truth. And when I talk to my family, it's frustrating. You know what I'm saying? Because I just look at it like, the Bible says, surely in the affliction you will seek me early. And that's how I figured I was being afflicted. I see a lot of things happening to my family in Haiti, and I see a lot of things happening in the earth. And I was like, man, God is just, working with people different ways. And that's how he worked with me. And I told my brother, man, and I have a twin brother, which makes it even more frustrating, because I would think that, he's my twin brother, and he should understand where I'm coming from. But this spirit is just a different spirit, and, it just, it's something, that, everybody's going to have to deal with by themselves. And I had to come to that realization. Everybody doesn't get the truth like I got it. Everybody has a different way. So
that's right. So for you, Brother Nestle, it was you going through affliction and certain things that opened up your understanding that you were on a different path outside of the path of Christ.
Right, and everybody, I started realizing my family was successful as far as going to college and getting jobs, and I was not getting that. I didn't even finish high school. I'm the only one that didn't finish high school, and I was just going through a lot of bad things. Not that I was a bad kid, but I was just dealt a bad hand. And I was like, why is this going on with me? And then I stopped going to church. And when I stopped going to church, I started hanging out with the wrong people, and I realized, like, man, just doing what I was doing and hanging out, drinking, and going home drunk, and I was like, this is not life, And I started realizing, I knew something was wrong. And I always had one thing about it, I always had the Spirit of God. One thing about the Christian church is they have a lot of spirit. They teach you a lot of good morals and stuff like that, but they don't have no truth. They have spirit, no truth. But I commend. That's why I was happy I was a Christian, Pentecostal Christian, because they taught me a lot of morals. They taught me a lot of things I was wrong. Even though I was doing a lot of bad things, I didn't go overboard where I just, I couldn't, I would end up in jail or something like that. But, once I left Christian church, the morals stuck with me. So, I think Christ was always guiding me, even though I was falling off. He always steered me right to the right path until I figured out, what was going on in my life. And I realized that, surely in my affliction, I would seek him early. And it was one time I was sitting in bed just trying to look at some black empowerment videos, and I didn't reach y'all guys. I reached another camp. And I was like, wow, I'm an Israelite, and my mom came in my room and was like, what you doing? I said, Mom, we're Israelites? And she was like, man, I don't want to hear about that. And I said, yep, this is the truth, because I started on this, because what the guy was saying, he was like, a lot of people is not going to understand this truth. You know what I'm saying? And you're just gonna have to, I'm like a prisoner. You know what I'm saying? I'm a prisoner to this truth. And I started talking to a lot of people. I started going crazy. I started telling everybody that we Israelites, and people was looking at me like I was nuts. And I was like, man, like. That's why, I have to I got to get to a body, people that think like mind. And now in Brooklyn, there's a place I know y'all got a church in Brooklyn. This Friday I'm going to go. This is going to be my first time going to the Gathering of Christ Church on Friday. So I'm going to try to make that. So just to be around people that think the same thing.
Praise the Father. So let me ask, Brother Nestle, before you go, if you had some words of wisdom for those who are, maybe still in the churches, or those of, family and loved ones, what words of wisdom would you leave them with to kind of, open their understanding as far as, the one true path?
I don't know. I'm not strong in a word like that. I'm not. I just know the truth, but I don't really. I really don't know no scriptures to really give them. I'm just tell them just be a humble person, and just have an open ear, have an open mind, and that's why I was telling them I had an open mind. I started dabbling into a lot of stuff, but I started understanding. Luckily, I had some ground, some spiritual ground, in knowing I was a Christian, a Pentecostal Christian at the time. And I can actually understand what the Bible was talking about, you know what I'm saying, to some degree, you know what I mean? And it just led me to a path. I'm like, well, if I'm an Israelite, what is my responsibility? And I realized that we are light to the world. We are supposed to be the people that fell. And I started realizing, I'm like, one thing about being an Israelite, I rejected it for a while, for like some months, because I was like, man, there's some radical people. But once I started reading, I started understanding. I'm like, man, Christ was not like that. Christ was not. The apostles was not like that. Radical like that. But they were a light to the world. They were a light to the Gentiles. You know what I'm saying? That's what we are. We God's example on earth. That's what we are. You know what I'm saying? That's how we should be. That's how we should be example. We should by action. And that's the only way I started realizing. Instead of talking about it, let's do it. So when people see us, they're like, okay, that's Christ in you. I see Christ in you. Even though you're not in a Christian church, I just see Christ in you. And the same thing I saw with the guys on Christ Church. Led me to your guys. Y'all was not teaching hate, white man the devil. And I was like, man, y'all really, I saw Christ in all of y'all guys, So that's why I knew I was in the truth right then and there. Because I was trying to find people that was thinking like mine. Because I was like, I'm not going to be out there talking crazy. But at the same time, I knew who I was. I knew I was an Israelite. You know what I'm saying? So I just tell people just be humble, be yourself, and have an open mind.
All right. Thank you, Brother Nestle, for your call and your testimony. I'm going to put you back in the queue. You have a blessed evening, brother.
All right, bro.
All right. Shalom.
Shalom.
All right. And the brother made a good point concerning those who are in the churches, which I want to make clear for those who are listening and those who may happen upon this broadcast in the future. I'm not saying that there is no hope for our brothers and sisters who are either in the churches, who are in the mosque, who are in any of these different faiths, the Mormon temple, the Nation of Islam, so on and so forth. Many of them are going through their journey and their experiences, which hopefully, if it be the Most High's will, they be led to the right path. Okay? Now, when we say that those different paths all lead to one place, and I'm going to make it clear, those paths all lead to hell. Okay? Just making it simple and plain. Okay? Meaning the path that modern Christianity puts you on, and openly and willingly breaking the Most High's commandments, is a path to hell. The path for the Nation of Islam, teaching these different doctrines as far as, God created himself out of triple darkness and having us more so lean towards the Arab perspective of who God is. That's leading you to hell. Orthodox Islam, leading you to hell. Wicca, New Age movement, Mormonism, Jehovah Witnesses, Seventh-day Adventists, leading you to hell. Okay? Now, I'm saying that because I want to make a distinction. When we say that those paths lead you to hell, what we're saying is that if you continue on those particular paths without repentance, without acknowledgement of the truth, and you take those paths at face value and think that these paths are going to lead you all to one place, to one righteous path, then you are sadly mistaken. What I will say and clarify is that those who are in these different faiths, if they're going through their journey, they're going through their experiences, they're learning different aspects of themselves, they're learning different aspects of life, which will eventually cause them to make the decision to get on the right path. Then that's an example of those particular paths leading you to the righteous path, which is Christ. But that can only happen through repentance, as the brother said, having an open mind, okay? Not being in a state where, as Christ said, not being able to put new wine to an old bottle, not being able to become as a child so that you can learn afresh, learn anew. If that's the case, then you're going to have issues as far as accepting the true righteous path. But brothers and sisters, as long as there's breath in our lungs, there's blood in our veins, we have an opportunity to get on the righteous path, no matter how far away from the mark we've gone. As you heard earlier, the sister said she was an atheist. But through process of time, the Most High awakened her and opened her eyes to the truth. Okay? So there's hope for us all. So I want to make that clear also. Okay? Now we're going to go to our next caller. We have 301 area code, last four digits, 0681. You're live on Blog Talk.
Yes, hello. Shalom, Elder.
Shalom, sister. How you doing?
I'm great. I had called to give my testimony today about what changed the pivotal point. I guess I attribute it to my youngest brother. He actually came into the truth a lot sooner than me, and he actually got some, I believe, some bad information. So he is in the mind state that, the reincarnation situation. So I actually came into truth trying to figure out exactly what it was that he was into. And I found a lot of different groups, and I found you guys. And I was already doing research about who our people was, because nothing was really making sense. And then when I found what my brother showed, it was the whole that we are Israel. That makes sense to me. and pastors, and nobody had any answers. Everyone was telling me just to leave him alone. And I was like, no, I'm not going to just leave my brother out there like that. So I started doing more research on, the scriptures and just actually getting into the Bible and reading. And then I found you guys, and everything makes sense. Even stuff from back when, experiences that I had, like growing up in the church, it just all makes sense. I had dreams and crazy things like that, and everything just started making sense. As far as what I would say, words of wisdom, because we all have those family members that you try to tell the truth to, and they just hear it, but cast you off like you're crazy or something, or they don't want to admit it. They want to entertain everything else but the truth. I would just say have patience and refer to Malachi 3:6, where he says, let me see, I don't want to misquote it. For I am the Most High, I change not, therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. It says that 2/3 of Israel will be saved in the wilderness, and only a remnant of those people are going to make it. But at least I know when we come into this truth, it's a sense of urgency that we have to get to everybody, and we have to tell everybody everything that we know so they can be saved with us at the end. But just kind of have a little bit of patience and understanding. This has always been the truth. We're just finding it, and it's always going to be the truth. That's what I can say to everyone.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, sister, for that testimony. And hopefully, sister, in the process of time, I know you said your brother, he ran into, some negative information, but nonetheless, hopefully in due time, he'll have the opportunity to come through and learn amongst us. And the Most High put him on the right path amongst Israelites, so to speak.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sister. I'm going to put you back in the queue. All right.
Shalom. Thank you.
All right. Shalom. Okay. And again, with every testimony, it just brings things to mind as far as, one sect I didn't mention. Okay. I know we mentioned Judaism, but we didn't mention Hebrew Israelites, and where that falls in line as far as right paths. Now, one thing we're not going to do is we're not going to come on and say that we're the only ones on the right path and we're the only ones with the truth, so on and so forth. That's idiocracy. Okay? What we do say, and we brought this out in our last Academy lesson, Israelite Doctrine, is that there are key doctrines in the Bible for those who follow Christ. Meaning those who are followers of Christ have a set foundation of principles and teachings that they must follow. And if you're not following those teachings, then regardless of what you call yourself, regardless of how much history you have, regardless of how many slave ships you can show you came off of, if you don't have those particular principles, then you're no different than a Christian or a Muslim. Even amongst Israel, we have to be mindful and understand that all Israel is not of Israel. Meaning everyone that claims to be an Israelite doesn't mean that they're on the path. And the beginning of that path, I'm going to make this clear, the beginning of the path to Christ, okay, as far as those who have made an open proclamation that they're followers of Christ. The key path, the first thing that you must be looking for is baptism. Okay? So anyone that claims to be a follower of Christ who does not accept baptism as it is written, you got to kind of, that's one of the first things you got to look at and say, okay, this person may have a lot of history, a lot of information as to who we are, but they don't have the path to Christ. Because if Christ was baptized, the apostles were baptized and baptized others, who are we to now come in this time and say that, well, baptism, either it doesn't matter or you can do baptism, but it's not a prerequisite to the kingdom? Well, what did Christ say? He that is born of water and of spirit. Okay? It's those that's going to make it into the kingdom. Or in order to make it into the kingdom, you must be born again of both water and spirit. Not just reading and following scriptures or following laws, so on and so forth. So I want to make that clear also. But moving on to our next caller, we have 678, last four digits, 4053. You're live on Blog Talk.
Shalom, Elder.
Shalom, sister. How you doing?
I'm blessed by the best, and his name is Ahaya.
All right, now. Go ahead and talk to me. What's your testimony?
My experience, I came out of the Apostolic Church, and it was a roller coaster. It was a ride. But all thanks be to the Most High. I always had this in my heart that something wasn't right. And they were about the meanest people that I ever known. And I would go home and I would cry on Sunday. I said, God, you just this mean? And they make the Bible seem so hard to understand. And I was like, God, you got to make me understand. So one particular Sunday, getting out of church, it was a while back, and I began to start crying every Sunday saying I was going to hell because I didn't know who I was praying to. I didn't know who God was. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who the Son was. And then they told me, the Spirit was a He, and it was the Holy Ghost. And I used to say it. I couldn't say He. I could never bring out my mouth to say He, but I always would say it. So I got scolded by that, and it was like I was a loner in the church because nobody didn't want to too much deal with me. They said I was strange because I just wouldn't follow with everything. So they told me that I wasn't going to be blessed because I didn't pay my tithes to them because I saw what was going on. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. Well, if I'm not going to be blessed, I'm just going to not be blessed because you're not getting my money. So, to make a long story short, I decided, I'm not going to go back anymore. So I left that church and went to another church. And this particular church that I went to, is still Apostolic Church. Because at that time, it was told to me, we had the right religion. We was the one that going to go. You've been baptized, and you've been born again. So I'm like, okay, but I still don't understand because I don't know who I'm serving. I really don't know. And they were saying, oh, you gotta know. You've been in this way a long time. So you mean to tell me you don't know? And I'm being honest. No, I didn't know. But when I went to the last church, it was like this woman just overpowered her husband, and she was just taking over, and it was just, I said, this is it. I am done. I'm finished with this. I wasn't giving up on God. I went home and I cried, and I said, God, I'm not giving up on you, but you're going to have to tell me something. You're going to have to show me something. So I had a friend that stayed in Georgia, and she came down, and she spent a week with me. And she went over these scriptures and everything, and I was open to hear because I was like, I need to know because I'm going to die and go to hell. And when she began to explain and began to show me these scriptures and everything, it was like a weight had lifted up off of me because I had been crying. And the week before she came, to go back just a little bit, the week before she came, the Most High had started dealing with me in Ezekiel about when he told Ezekiel, I'm paraphrasing, to look in that hole, to go down to look in this hole and tell me, what do you see? And all this stuff that was going on with all the head officials and stuff, and the women crying over this person at that time I didn't know. Then he took me into Jeremiah, how Jeremiah was weeping for the people and all of this stuff, and I'm like, I don't understand, and nobody can tell me nothing. So I really didn't understand, but you're showing me all of this, and I don't understand this. But when she came down, and she began to sit with me and then began to explain to me. And it was just like the Spirit just agreed, and it looked like stuff just started falling off. And I went to repenting again, saying, I just didn't know. I didn't know, but I tried. And so when I realized that this was the truth, and then I was like, I still can't die. I said, don't I have to be baptized? And I need a church to go to. I don't want to be hanging out like this. So, and that's when I got in touch with, I sent an email to the Governor of the South or whatever, and then got in touch with Elder Purnell. And I'd never been in a church like that before. I would tell anybody, anybody in any religion, if you ever come to an Israelite church, the truth, and I tell them the truth, I say you never felt so much love, so much words. It just, the atmosphere has shifted. The atmosphere just so clear and clean. And now, to the point, my family just really cast me aside, but it's okay. It's okay, because I rejoice because, you know, the Most High knows everything. So I just rejoice. At one point I did want to get mad, but the Most High wouldn't let me, and I found myself rejoicing. So now, you know, the ones that is coming back talking, we talk, but I push nothing down their throat. I don't, you know, I put the Most High in there, and now I got them saying, I am that I am. I said, that's a step, and then I began to rejoice, and because they wasn't saying that at first, and you know, we got to talking, I was saying, that is his name. I said, you go back to the word, you'll find that it is his name. And I don't know, I just been so happy because I thank the Most High that I really, really found the truth, and that's what made me so happy. And just knowing who I am, that wasn't enough alone for me, even when I got in there, but just to know to keep going and to find out more what I needed to do. And when I got baptized, it was like another weight lifted off of me, and I'm constantly before the Most High talking to him. Okay, what is my next step? What I need to do to please you? Everything in my life is to please the Most High. I don't even want to be pleased. So that's my testimony. And I mean, I can go on because I have a big testimony, but I can go on and on. But that, all I want to do is to please him. Even in my walk, my talk, my prayers, my singing, my giving, my worship, my praise, I just want to please him. That's all I want to do. That's my testimony.
Thank you. Thank you for that testimony. And if you will, you know, is there any words of wisdom that you would leave those loved ones and those family members with to, you know, put them on the, you know, at least get them on the start of walking the true path?
My wisdom, a word to them and to anybody that listening. You have to have a heart and a compassion for the Most High to want to know more. Because being in those religion churches, if you see everything is just going around in a circle, and it's just like you're on a merry-go-round, and you asking the Most High, when do I get off of this? Because it's still the same thing. It's nothing different. It's year after year, month after month, and I always would tell them, seek the Most High. Tell him what you're looking for. Tell him how you feel. Talk with him. And when you open up to him, he'll open back up to you.
Well, sister, thank you again for that testimony and those words of wisdom. I'm going to put you back in the queue. I'm going to move to the next caller, okay?
Thank you.
All right, sister. Bless you.
Bless you.
What a powerful testimony there by the sister out there in Florida. And let's see here who else we have. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm pretty sure there's hundreds of more testimonies like that as far as those who have been on other paths, who at one point may have believed that they were on the true path, or you have a lot of people who always kind of known that something wasn't right about what they were following, and that the truth resolves so many things for them. Now, for those who may be listening, let's say for those who are on the outside looking in, they may think that this is a handicapped conversation because we're already proclaiming that the Bible is the truth without giving any insight or, you know, giving any chance to the other religious philosophies or beliefs that we've mentioned. And that's the point of me speaking to you all and receiving your testimonies, because many of you brothers and sisters have, as well as us as elders, we have followed a lot of these different religious philosophies and beliefs. And through our experience, we've concluded that this here is the truth. This is the one path. So it's not like we didn't experience, or we didn't try it out, we didn't give it an opportunity to try to find out what the truth was, or we're just being prejudiced against the other beliefs because they speak against the Bible or they don't believe in the Bible. But that's not the case. I'm listening to all these different testimonies from these different walks of life, and you're all coming to the same exact conclusion, regardless of what system you were originally involved with. Okay? So I want to make that clear for those who are listening from the outside looking in and thinking that, you know, this is a subjective conversation as far as what truth is. Okay? Well, it's not subjective. We've been in your faiths. We've been in, you know, we have brothers and sisters who are in Buddhism, in the New Age movement, brothers and sisters following witchcraft, what have you. They tried all of those things and were spiritually oppressed horribly through following a lot of these different faiths and religious systems. Okay? But as the Bible says, as Christ says, all those who are heavy laden with burdens, come and take up my burden, because my burden is light. Okay? Just paraphrasing what Christ tells us in the book of Matthew, the 11th chapter, that everything else that we've been dealing with has been a burden. But once we take up his burden, once we take up his yoke, we know that his yoke is light. It relieves us. Okay? I'm going to take a few more callers before we close out. I know that the lines are blowing up, but I'm going to take a few more callers here before we call it an evening. Next here we have 646, last four digits, 5544. You're live on Blog Talk.
Shalom, this is Lucy, Ali, Israel. I'm not
All right,
in a
shalom,
camp
Sister
yet.
Lucy. What's
oh,
that?
My goodness. I'm not in a camp yet, but I'm trying to make my way over to GOCC. I found you all through the media, through social media, and oh my gosh, it's 24/7. I hardly sleep at night. Just let me know if you cannot understand because I'm on a cell phone.
Okay,
I hardly
that's fine.
sleep at night from studying. Oh my gosh, I'm in your classes. I haven't taken the course yet, but I will. Anyway, let me make it very fast because I could go on like such beautiful testimonies tonight.
Absolutely.
And I'm just
Absolutely,
so
sister.
grateful for you all because I mean, once you hear what I've been through, finally parked. My car's in parked, and I'm in GOCC, even though I've never gone yet, but yet and still I will. But anyway, let me get to the point. I'm following your teaching, and a good foundation is being laid. I wasn't baptized in your church, but I was baptized. I'm a senior now, so my father was a Mason when I grew up. And, you know, Mason is not grounded in any truth other than Illuminati. My mother would take the children, my sisters and brothers, to a Methodist church. But we would go to the Methodist church, and I always knew that something was missing. So finally, I went on a Methodist retreat. And I kind of hooked up with the Lord. And through my prayers and all, I felt country that I had really made a vow to the Lord to continue to seek him. And I continued to seek him and went through such a long life of all kinds of wizardry. As a child, Ouija board. Then at 10, I asked if I could become a Catholic, and just for months, I became a Catholic for months. At 13, I'm still in the Methodist church, but I met my first boyfriend. You know, why they would even allow that. You know, it didn't go beyond just platonic. At 15, Billy Graham. Sincerely gave my heart to the Lord, but I'm still searching because I knew something wasn't right. By the age of 19, I was married, worldly marriage, very violent. I was kicked out of my husband, and I had a child in my stomach, and he kicked me out of the car. It was moving, and I got an order of protection, and he beat me up, left me outside pregnant. I ended up divorced from him. And then I'm still seeking the Lord, and I got into astrology, Edgar Cayce, which science of the mind. I did Transcendental Meditation, all of these things for like just experimental basis. I never really got into them deep enough because once I would see that it was not really the true answer, I would find myself really saying, nah, this, this is not it. Once I really found truth in being an Israelite, then I knew it was it. That was when my spirit really, really testified that the truth was really in me. Anyway, I became a department store designer. I got kicked out by the Illuminati. I went into Islam. But by this time, after I got kicked out, I'm still saying, Lord, something is not right. So ended up under this tent, this revival tent with this Christian R.H. Shambach. And then from there, he sent me into a Pentecostal apostolic, like the last caller religion. And those people were so sinful. And I was actually raped. My daughter was sexualized. Then I got married in that same church. This Muslim guy came into the church, pretended he was Christian. He wanted a green card. After 3 years, he finally convinced me to marry him, which I did, because I figured, well, he came to the table with something, so I'll take my chance. Got a divorce, ended up in a non-denominational Grammy Award-winning choir, won Grammy Awards in this big choir. That wasn't it. Spirit of word leading me to the truth led me. Okay, I'm separated now from the husband, and I'm still, not on the fact that I just keep experimenting. And anyway, the final step was hearing GOCC's YouTube videos. The word of wisdom was spoken to me at Quicken. I went to find out. I learned that I was among the 12 tribes, my mother being Native American and my father being from South Carolina, so that would make him like Judah, coming through the slave ships there on the border of South. Those are the Geechee people. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I'm almost finished.
All right, sister, go ahead, take your time.
My word of wisdom is first seek ye the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and the higher will lead you to all truth. And my suggestion is that everyone obey the laws, statutes, and commandments, and really, really, really follow the holidays. Abandon all of the lustful, satanic holidays, which are Christian holidays, and which are the Christmas, the New Year's, the Thanksgiving, which is, really like a celebration of our slavery. Okay, we're in the last captivity now, so we don't really have much time. So I would say that anyone that's hung up in any of these sidetracks away from truth had better move pretty fast right now, because we're in the last captivity and we need to get on the right track of Ahaya and Yeshaya and the Ruach, and to really, really study now. We need to really buckle down and study. Drop anything or anyone that does not lead you to Ahaya, because we are in the last moments right now, and all of the prophecies are fulfilled, and we got a few prophecies that are just in the process of being fulfilled, like the Third World War between Iran. Those are the leads. I learned all of this from you, dear brother. And then we have the mark of the beast. Thank you, Lord. We have the chip. The chip that's being administered already, all of the above. So anyway, that's it. I'm
All right,
grateful.
sister.
Finish
your thought.
I haven't been to a GOCC congregation yet. I'm just trying to get my bearings straight on whether it would be Brooklyn or the Bronx, but I will see you there.
Well, sister, I'm pretty sure the brothers and sisters there would be, blessed to have you. And whenever you're ready, sister, of course, take your time, continue to study, and, make sure this is the right place for you. And when you make that decision, go to one of those congregations in New York, and you'll be received with open arms, sister.
I know I will.
All right. I'm going to put you back in the queue, all right?
Thank you, and God bless you, and thank you.
Bless
in
you
the name
too,
of
sister.
Baha'i.
Bless you too, sister. Shalom.
Shalom. Thank you.
All right, brothers and sisters. I'm thinking after each call, I'm gonna conclude the show because we've been here for quite some time. We're moving into the top of the hour, but with every testimony, it just leaves me like, man, I got to hear some more of these brothers and sisters and what they have to say as far as the path that they've been taking in their former lives, and how this truth has changed their lives and have put them on the proper path, which is Christ. And maybe we have to do a part 2 of this, or maybe we have to continue this conversation. But even if you're not able to give your testimony tonight, I'm going to say this. I'm going to ask you all. I'm going to pretty much give you a personal assignment that you can, bring forward in your own time, with the understanding of what was brought out tonight as far as the different paths that are out there. Islam, Christianity, Jehovah Witnesses, Mormons, Seventh-day Adventists, Buddhists, Sikhism, okay, you name it. Transcendental Meditation, Wicca, the New Age movement, the conscious movement, so-called conscious movement, okay? All of these different philosophies that are out there. Put yourself in the shoes of these brothers and sisters. In fact, hey, you don't have to imagine or put yourself in their shoes because you've been in their shoes, okay? So being in the shoes of a lot of the brothers and sisters who have been through these different experiences, ask yourself, what was your turning point? And also, words of wisdom that you would give to someone, either in your family, someone in the community that you love dearly. What words of wisdom would you give them in love to open up their heart, to understand that the path that they're on may not be the end of that road, may not be what they're looking for. Because I don't think that anyone, regardless of what they believe, what they think, even Satanists who have made a vow to worship Lucifer, I don't think they're prepared, or in fact, I know they're not prepared to deal with what's on the other side of this, which is eternal damnation. Even Aleister Crowley, who gave his life in worship of Satan, I'm pretty sure right now he wishes he could have done things differently. Okay? But nonetheless, for all of the brothers and sisters that are out there, try to make this an assignment for yourself as to how you would present the right path, the one true path of God, to those who are still caught in these different belief systems. What creative ways would you come up with in order to introduce the light and the love of Christ? Okay? And I'm going to leave you with that assignment, brothers and sisters, and hopefully you can come up with some creative ideas. Hopefully those ideas can be instituted throughout your communities, instituted within your home, instituted within the church, so on and so forth as things progress. And we're going to try to make this a mission, okay? A universal mission for the church as far as finding creative ways to reach those who are on the different paths outside of Christ. And with that, brothers and sisters, I thank you all for your participation in tonight's call. And again, just meditate upon this topic, and hopefully we can pick up this topic on another date to get some more of those testimonies. But with that, brothers and sisters, I bless you all, and I say shalom. May you enjoy the rest of your evening. And if it be the Lord's will, I'll be seeing you all this Sabbath. With that, I say bless you all, and shalom. Okay, and before I even I leave, I want to just ask you all to keep Brother Azariah in your prayers. Okay, when you get the opportunity, just put up a prayer for Brother Azariah. Brother Azariah has been very instrumental in actually, helping put together, some of the shows in the past, was bringing in guests, so on and so forth. So I ask brothers and sisters, keep them in your prayer. And again, you'll be hearing from us this Sabbath if it be the Lord's will. With that, I say again, bless you all, and shalom.